Hello, beautiful ones. Jumping on here, trying some of the new technology. So let's see how that works today. Wanted to bring something to your awareness here today, and that's going to be what's really, really important. It's the start of the week. Lots of things are changing. And I wanted to bring something and put you on assignment this week, actually, because I think there's something very fascinating that will emerge if we can begin to raise our awareness around this. Good morning, good morning, good morning, my sweet sisters and my dear brothers on this channel. So I just got off of a coaching call with a client in England. I do a lot of one-on-one coaching. And I'm beginning to notice something with the people that I'm coaching that I wanted all of you to begin thinking about for yourselves. So if I was your personal coach, good morning. I see Donald and Debbie on there. I see so many of you. What I want to raise your awareness to are the things that you have tapped into from the past, the things that you've tapped into, and it's a wisdom. It's a wisdom that is innate within you, but you haven't necessarily been able to give it voice. Look at everybody on here. I see Fran and Kay and Shannon. So glad. I'm trying my new software here so we can do two things at once here. It live streams on Facebook and it live streams on YouTube. For any of you that do follow me, if you want to follow me on YouTube as well, that's another option. I'm working on just trying to build as many different levels of foundation I can to be of support to people as we go through this tremendous change. So hello, Joseph. Always good to see you as well. So I wanted you to think, slow down. And what I'm noticing is that as I work with corporate leaders, that they're finding that they know things with a capital K that they can't necessarily explain. They have found ways to get around it, whether it's the way they explain things intellectually or the way that they've just simply, oh, this is the way it's been in the past. And I'm noticing it enough now that I'm like, okay, what's happening is that many people have gifts that are deep down inside of them, gifts that come from our universal source, come from the divine, that we've actually convinced others and ourselves that they're not really gifts, that they're simply the way that we've learned to navigate in this world. Well, it's time. It's time for us to go past that old way of understanding and begin to consciously become aware of what's really going on. So let me give you a couple of examples. Have you ever had the phone ring and before you even picked it up, you knew who it was? You simply knew. And then you looked at like, oh yeah, so I know. And you might have said, well, that's because I was expecting a call from them. Over this next week, I want to invite you all to start picking up on things that you either know, see, understand, or intuit that you haven't ever really given voice to. Hello, Miss Sarah and Cindy and Tammy, that you haven't given voice to. Because what we want to do is we want to bring those gifts up front and we want to be able to start seeing them so that you can develop them even at an even greater level. It's a wisdom. It's a wisdom. So test it out when people call you. Test it out when you think there'll be a number. Test it out when you look at a picture or a situation or you see something on the news or television and you have this flood of understanding. And you go, I wonder what that was. What's happening is that the veil is lifting and that there are more and more energies coming here. And what we're being asked to do is to step up to the plate and begin to say, I really did know that. I don't know how I knew that, but I knew it. Okay, I knew it. And instead of being frightened by that, because please know that many of us have shied away from these kinds of gifts for our whole life. Is this making sense for any of you? Many of you have known and understood things your whole life and you haven't had an explanation. Because living in this 3D world, what we're trained at is we're trained that if you can't prove it, if you can't touch it, see it, use one of our five senses, that it doesn't exist. And that's not true. That's simply not true. And so while we have one foot in the past and we've got one foot in the future, what I'm going to be doing is helping you bridge these things together. I want to bring them to your awareness because these don't have to be scary things, dear ones. Sometimes when I will bring things up to people and say, well, this isn't likely, what's happening here, they're like, well, what are you, psychic? We have this negative understanding of anybody that understands things that are not done by the five senses, that they must be crazy, psychic, out of touch, da 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 da. And we've been taught that these things are scary. But here's what's so fascinating and what's going to happen in our lifetime is these things don't have to be scary. They were gifts that we had, and many of us have had for much of our life, but we had no way of understanding it. No way of understanding it, no way of processing it. Let's not even get into the fact that we had no way to develop it. And so I want to begin to demystify these things that have been considered mystical, because I'm seeing people tap dance around it all over the place. They either understand complex subjects in a way that they don't recognize why. They know how to sit down at the piano and simply play, and yet they've never been taught. They've been able to paint and are inspired by things that are in paintings and art, or maybe even music or any other kind of creative thing, and they just do because they get into what they call the zone. Well, let me explain what the zone is, dear ones. The zone is our connection to the universal source. So what I'll be doing over this next year is I'm going to be combining some things with science and spirituality because it's fascinating. It's fascinating and it is so much stinking fun. And I want to invite you all to have us each consciously begin to demystify these things these gifts that we have. Now, I can feel that some of you are like, okay, Kim, I'm not talking about this out loud. I'm not talking about this out loud, and that's okay. You don't have to. You don't have to. Not yet. So right now, yes, society has been a way to be able to make us feel uncomfortable. Absolutely. Cindy, love that. I've had a sixth sense and been aware of it for a long time. So what I'm wanting you to do over this next week is to put on a different lens, okay? I want you to see things differently and go, how did I know that? Where did that come from? And I want you to begin to start to tap into these things that you've blown right by. And make a note to yourself. You don't have to understand it yet. If you notice something, Shannon, sometimes it is challenging. And then in that case, Shannon, what it is you're learning to have the wisdom and understanding for the greater cosmic picture. So that's a whole nother subject. I'm learning all these things that I need to put into my new course that I'll be developing called Intuitive Intelligence. Please understand that all of this is a source of divine intelligence. So let's take it out of the old woo-woo scary stuff that we've been taught. Please understand that we have been taught to be frightened of all of these things because we haven't understood it. That's one, we haven't understood it. Two, we were being taught that we didn't have access to these kinds of things because many of those who wanted to control us as society, they didn't want us to know we had access to the universal source. They wanted us to think that we only had access of this kind and this way. Don't think this was an accident, dear ones. We're unraveling thousands of years of very intentional dogma that's kept us very limited. So what I want to do is I want to remove the scariness from it. I want to remove the scariness from it, and as we go through, and even in the December book club and more as I launch some classes for next year, I want to demystify it. But the first way to demystify it is to first give it space. So find yourself a journal. I use a password protected journal because I like to type, but just start putting it down. Start listing out some of the different gifts that you've had. Cindy, so I'm a big believer that I don't allow the dark in my world. So I know how to put protection around, and I'm not available for that nonsense. That's what I say. The minute something dark even tries to cross my path, I'm like, oh, not available for that. That's the way I create my reality. Terry, I'm so thankful for this time in life because the things I've known and felt like a child are now coming through the light. I know, Cindy, Terry, I know so many of these things that we've known, and wow, it feels like a relief, doesn't it? Like, oh, it feels like a relief. Now, keep in mind, we're still on that cusp. We're still on this cusp, but there's a lot of people that still don't understand it. And there's a lot of people who haven't quite figured it out. There are some people who are acting like they have figured it all out, and they haven't. So keep in mind of that, because we're all in this journey of saying, okay, something's changing. Something's changing. It's like moving from your house to the upper side. Everything's different. Love that, Joseph. Love that. And so I just wanted to start easy here at the beginning of the week. Just start easy and start asking yourself, when have I known things? When have I understood things? And start listing out some of those things, because what I want you to know is these things are not scary, that we are fully capable. I want to make this very clear, that when you embark on this journey, okay, go ahead and declare you're fully protected in the divine, that you are not available for any of this other nonsense. Not available. You know, I bumped into a woman the other day, and she is so programmed to believe that she is powerless against any darkness out there that she walks through the world very frightened. Folks, we are not being asked, my dear friends, to be fearful. I am not available for any of that stuff. Not available. And you also have the power to declare, I'm not available. What am I available for? I'm available for developing our gifts. I am available for demystifying some of the craziness. I am available for going, I want to learn more. I want to learn what it is that I'm taught. And so even when I'm interacting with people now, I can absolutely feel what needs to come into that space, and know that these are all intuitive gifts that are inside of you. It's part of who you are. It's in your DNA. And so what we'll do in the upcoming weeks is begin to demystify it. But it's no need to be frightened of it, dear ones. Any of those things that we've been taught in the past, it's because people haven't known what to do. Now, if you've got things that are going on that you're not quite sure how to handle, feel free to direct message me, and I'll see if the two of us can connect, okay? I try hard to keep up with that. Sometimes I'm not always able to, but I will try hard. What I want you to know is you can trust yourself. You remember this weekend, I was talking about, can you trust life? The opportunity is for us to say, I trust life. I trust life. And now today we're moving into, I trust myself. I trust my soul. Now, I'll be honest with you. I wasn't very trustful of that for a while, because I wasn't liking what things were emerging in my life, because I didn't understand the larger concept, the larger universal laws. I didn't understand the bigger pictures. I'm noticing things changing, and I am actually so excited about it. I'm so excited because there is a freedom. Cindy, I wonder the same thing, and I'm trusting the divine timing on that as well. Trusting the divine timing on that. There is a freedom that we are each on the cusp of. And we can go through this journey one of two ways. We can be concerned or fretful about this freedom, or we can go, okay, I'm hearing freedom is coming. I don't quite know what or how, but I'm going to trust my soul to lead me this way. So I'm going to take you on baby steps, baby nuggets of understanding. And so all I'm asking you for today to think about this week is, when have you known things that there was not a reasonable explanation for, about people, places, things, or experiences? And start documenting it for yourself, so that you can step into and begin to feel fully conscious of what is happening. And then together, my sweet sisters and my dear brothers, together we're going to unravel this. Okay? So that is my thought here for today. I want to send you all a lot of love, a lot of hope, and a lot of inspiration this week. This is going to be, again, a very intense week. Don't be surprised by that. Lots of intense energies. We're being up-leveled, so to speak, up-leveled as human beings, and this truly is one of the most exciting times in the history of humanity to be alive. We don't have to understand it all yet, dear ones. We don't have to understand it. And Becky, I do not know the answer to that one. What I do know is that there is a wisdom far greater than what we can understand, and that things are far more complex than what we and begin to understand, and that right now we're each being asked to do our own individual work. Let the world do what it does. You do your story well. Gail, love that. That happens to me all the time. And so let's start noticing when those things happen. There are no accidents, dear one. You are being woken up to all of these gifts that you have. And I can't wait to be on the journey here with you. Sending you all much love. Happy Monday. Until next time.